What is Photoshop? Photoshop is an image retouching, image editing software application manufactured by Adobe. It's used by all sorts of industries, especially commercial artists, people like graphic designers, animators, illustrators, and most definitely photographers. In this fundamentals class, we're going to learn a lot about how to use Adobe Photoshop. But the first thing I want you to know is that just because you know how to use Adobe Photoshop does not make you a good graphic designer. Graphic design is a communication art, and there are a lot of other aspects to graphic design besides just knowing how to use Photoshop. We're going to cover those later in the course. However, it is important to know Photoshop, to know it well, because it is the main tool you're going to be using to create your graphic design. Now, there's a lot of stuff in Photoshop, and just to give you a little bit of a preview, I'm going to show you a quick little video that I found on Adobe's website. So in that clip, you saw a lot of cool stuff. I can understand it if you want to just learn how to do the coolest stuff in Photoshop. And we will. We'll learn how to do some cool stuff. A lot of what you saw there. But there's even a lot more to Photoshop than what you saw. And it can be very complicated. One of the things I've found to help students to make it not so complicated, at least to start out, is to let you know that just because there's a lot of stuff you can do in Photoshop doesn't mean we have to learn it all. But even more importantly than that, there is a fundamental concept in Photoshop that I want to express to you right now. That fundamental concept is that there is really just two basic things that Photoshop does. Or I should say, two basic things that you're going to do in Photoshop. One, you're going to choose pixels. Two, you're going to change pixels. Got it? Choose pixels, change pixels. So what's a pixel? Well, take a look at my screen here, and I'm going to zoom up. And as I zoom in on this picture, you're going to notice it starts to look a little blurry. But as I get closer and closer, you're going to start to see little squares. What you're looking at is squares of color, and that's what a pixel is, a square of color. It can only be one color in a square, one pixel, one color, but when you put a bunch of pixels together, they can give you a variety of colors. When I said choosing and changing pixels is the basic Photoshop techniques, that's what I'm going to show you right now. Choosing and changing pixels. So we're looking at a series of pixels. I'm going to choose them by grabbing this lasso tool and then just drawing a shape. And as I draw the shape, once I finish, Photoshop selects the pixels that I drew the shape around. You'll notice that that selection is being shown by a moving dotted line. Sometimes Photoshoppers call this marching ants. Inside that perimeter of the dotted line are the pixels that I've selected. Outside the perimeter of the dotted line, the pixels are not selected. So whenever I choose the pixels I'm choosing pixels that I want to do some sort of action on or make some sort of change. We call those edits. So I have a group of pixels here that I have selected and I want to make changes to them. I want to do some editing. This particular editing I'm going to do is I'm going to change their colors. So to do that, I am going to go to the Image menu, Adjustments, Hue Saturation, and drag this slider left or right. And as I do, you notice that the colors of the pixels inside the selection change. I hit the OK button. I completed the change. I can deselect, Command D, and then I'm going to zoom out and you'll notice that I've made a small little change there. And that's it. That's pretty much what we do in Photoshop. So the point here, and really the main thing I want you to get, is that at the very fundamental level of Photoshop, you are going to be choosing and changing pixels. Now, depending upon the situation you're faced with and what your goals are, it may be fairly easy to choose pixels, or it may be a very complicated process. Either way, you're still choosing pixels and changing pixels.